Peace, family. This your boy Sonny G with the Florida Reparations Compliance Committee, and we are down here in Jacksonville, Florida. Reparations are 6 talking points. We'll be focusing on all 6 of those, talking to the people about reparations and bringing awareness to that. Let's go. Let me interview you real quick.
Alright, what you want to interview me about?
Yeah, let me interview you real quick.
We got arrested detail right quick.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna come back.
Take this, man, because we with the Florida Reparations Compliance Committee.
Alright. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
We're gonna come back and check out if you still up.
Making sure the Black Americans get reparations.
Oh, yes, sir.
You know what I'm saying?
Sure. Okay. Alright, boss man. Y'all
too, bro. Yo, peace to the family. This your boy Sonny G here with the Florida Reparations Compliance Committee. We here on the campus of Edward Waters, right here in Jacksonville, out here talking to Black Americans, giving them the message, letting them know that reparations is coming. We talking and we pushing the 6 talking points too as well. Yo, what's good? This is your boy Sonny G with the Florida Reparations Compliance Committee. I'm with Gerald Joins, aka Pops, up here on the campus. And Pops, let me ask you a question real quick. How do you feel about reparations for Black Americans?
I feel as though it's been well overdue. I'm 72 years old and they ain't never gave me nothing, so I had to get it on my own. So, you know, but for our children and our children's children, I believe that we need reparation.
That's a fact.
Because they didn't give it to us.
Right.
But as far as the government is concerned, they don't care about us at all. My lifetime, you had to get it on your own. I've been on my own since I was 13 years old.
Yeah.
You know, my dad taught me his skill because he was a barber. So I was raised in Philadelphia in a barber shop.
Okay.
So I had to get it on my own. And all them guys that came in the shop, I took after them because they was my role models.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Whether it was good or bad.
Yeah.
And then when I got a little older, I kind of separated, you know.
Yeah.
So I just believe it's long overdue, man. We need to try to get what we can get, keep fighting. You know what I mean? My thing is, God bless us where we don't have to beg. Mm-hmm. But just give us a chance and give us the resources that we need to do for ourselves. And that's all.
Definitely. So, and with that being said, with the incident that happened or was going to occur here not too long ago, how do you feel about us or the government implementing and demanding that Black Americans get an anti-Black hate crime bill?
We definitely need that because it seems as though they don't understand that they just can't come in our neighborhood and kill us up.
That's a fact.
You know what I mean? So I'm just glad that we was the campus officer was just aware of what went down and to say, because I was up here. I was in the office right there. And it's just unfortunate, man, that people raised up in hate and think they can just go do what they want to do to just anybody. It's a sad situation. It's painful. It's hurting. It's unbelievable. I mean, all above, man. But the only solution is fight back. Don't really get it. You know what I mean? It's just like you said, try to pass a bill. Try to put some awareness in people so they can put this John Hancock on the line and sign something. Put petitions out there so we can fight this thing. But that's the only way we can fight it is through the government, and the government they turn our back on us too. So
yeah.
I mean, it's rough out here, man.
Yeah.
You know, it's easy to go pick up a gun and go shoot back.
Yeah.
But what's that gonna do? More lives getting lost. So, you know, I wasn't raised to hate. I was raised to love everybody. You know what I mean? But at the same time, you still got to be cautious because you know what's out there.
Yeah.
You say, yo, you a nigga lover. You a nigga lover. That's how they talk to each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when I pay attention to that, I know what they expect from them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because they'll smile in your face, but they hate you.
Yeah.
They go behind closed doors and they plot against you. You know what I mean? That guy that did this, man, didn't just come from him. That's the way he was raised. You know what I mean? It was put inside of him.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying? So it wasn't him. It was what been instilled in him, and that's why that was his solution.
Right.
Of what's been instilled inside of him.
That's a fact.
You know. So I mean, I ain't gonna tell nobody don't buy no gun. Go get you one, cause everybody else got one.
Yeah.
And this is what the country is made of. Cause you don't want to get caught out there and be no fool. This guy, man, rolled all around here. He rolled up in the hood. He rolled up on the corners. You know what I mean? He plotted this thing, and he seen a weakness. He said, well, I can't get nobody here, and I ain't going up on the corner because I don't know what they got. You feel what I'm saying? He went in the store. The first guy he killed, I knew that young guy, man. I go in that store. I knew him. It was just crazy that day, man. If it had not been for our president having the vision to put a fence around this institution, it would have been much worse. In fact, he's my real hero because he had the vision to do it. Because this campus used to be wide open. There was no fencing on this campus at all. I mean, we need some work done. We need some stuff done here. You know what I mean? But once he fenced it in, man, we were secure. I appreciate y'all guys doing what you do, man.
Yeah, definitely, Pops, man.
You know, hey, man. God speed with you, man.
Definitely, man. I definitely appreciate you, Pops. This is Sonny G with the Florida Reparations Compliance Committee signing out.
Who knows best to do with your money other than you?
Yeah.
So you don't want nobody telling you, oh, I need a scholarship that's going to benefit Harvard University. It's not going to benefit us. It's not going to.
Education would.
The education was, but Harvard as an institution is not supportive of the larger Black American community. And we know that has a slave history in and of itself.
So would it be best that if that opportunity was there that they could go to an HBCU?
It would be best if they got money.
Well, I get that. I totally agree. You know what I'm saying?
And see, we're really pushing that because everybody wants to give us everything else but
money.
Yeah. How about a program, a library card, some food stamps, a bus ticket,
And
anything else?
Evanston, Illinois, they gave them a lottery to win a housing loan or something like that.
You know,
they still had to pay back.
Can I just say, and since you brought up Georgetown, in the case of Georgetown, because they sold because the Catholics or whoever sold slaves to pay for
the university.
Then the university felt that it needed to do something to repay the descendants of those slaves. Now that may not be reparations, but Georgetown.
Yeah.
That's what they wanted. That's what the descendants wanted. It doesn't replace what you all are talking about.
Yes.
No.
Or what other people are fighting for. It doesn't replace that. But every institution may have its own obligation because of its bad acts. But it doesn't replace reparations.
Right.
You can't say I did this, and that's where I am with you all, that, they should have done that. But at the same time, this is still on the table.
Right.
That we need to do.
And a lot of times that's a strategy to try to keep you from coming back to get what's yours, to get
I got
We
you.
gave you something so you
So
don't be knocking at the door.
Right.
I get you. I get it.
So tell me, what is CPS?
Child Protective Services.
Oh.
So if you look at the model that the Native Americans have had implemented for them, whereas their children have to stay within their culture. You know, they're not their children. They can't be put out to other groups. And we find that our children get taken and put into with other groups. You know, and a lot of times they don't fare well. They do not fare well. And
even oftentimes, if there's family members available willing to take them, still they're being snatched out of the house. They're not allowed. They find some loophole, or you're to this or you're to that. We really want to protect our children from getting into systems that are not beneficial for them and not helping them thrive, not helping them educationally, don't really understand who they are and what traumas, our particular community goes through. So it's almost impossible for them to, even well-meaning, how are you going to help a black child survive in this country knowing all the stuff that they have? It's a handicap in a lot of ways. So we want to make sure our children have, cultural protection. Make sure they have their. I'm sorry. No, we just want to make sure they have cultural protection. They have family protection. They have lineage protection.
Because it's important to just say cultural protection. Because if you look at, like, say, some of our celebrities that adopted children of color, they're learning how to operate in one culture, but they may feel foreign in another or out of place. It's sort of like a friend of mine that looks Japanese, but he can't speak Japanese, but his grandparents can speak Japanese, so he has miscommunication when it comes to it. But like I said, that is an important phrase, cultural protection. We always talk about cultural appropriation, but in this case, that phrase right there is the most important. Cultural protection.
Absolutely.
So you copyrighted and just told me you did it.
A point that you might want to consider: the Cory Bush Booker initiative. He may understand that he's wanting you to add to the conversation. He may know very well what your position is and agree with it, but because he's an elected official who also has to straddle some fences, he's relying on you to provide the additional discussion that he knows that you're going to bring. And if you increase the profile of that discussion, then it would be easier for him to adopt your position. He's just putting it out there knowing that you're going to come and add to the entire discussion. Okay? He can't come out there like you, because he'll lose votes. Some of those crossover votes that he relies on to get elected. So he's looking to you, giving you the signal. I'm putting it out there for the discussion. You add to the conversation and make him take a harder position. Make him do that. And then he'll be able to do it. Because then he will recognize, and you will recognize, that the political initiative will be at his back to do what you want him to do. You got to make him do that. With this,
I definitely agree with you, and that's why the grassroots, it is our duty to keep candidates' foot to the fire. That's why if you go there, we also have a point that say no tangibles, no vote. So we have to be willing to actually turn our back on politicians who refuse to implement our agenda or refuse to give us something tangibly in return for our vote. Now, another thing too to realize that when it comes to legislation, not only should he face energy from us, the people who want the legislation to be tighter, but he's also gonna face people who want to take that legislation and pick it apart in negative ways as well. So that's one of the reasons why we do have to have politicians that are brave enough to actually implement legislation that's gonna be tight already, because it's gonna get picked apart from the other side.
You have to be the ones to be able to fill in the blanks for him. This takes a lot of study.
But they get paid a lot of money to represent us, though. And then I still have the added burden of.
There's scholarship that you are aware of that he may not be aware of.
I'm sorry about that. Go ahead. Please finish.
You have to provide the additional scholarship, the foundation for the argument that will supplement his argument. He may understand the broad parameters. You have to put the historical context to it and provide him with that to give him the courage to push behind his back. If you don't do that, nobody else will, and he'll just have part of the argument. He's relying on you to fill in the blanks.
Absolutely. That's what our purpose is with the grassroots, and like I said, public education and public awareness. So that it's not just us. It's not just FRCC.
that he is negligent and giving short shift to the argument. He may know what the arguments are. He just needs you to help build the community support that will force him to do that.
No tangibles, no vote. That'll force him. If he know that he can't count on the Black Americans that he usually count on to keep him in office, if he doesn't cut out the people of color, the minority talk, and actually call us by our name and address us tangibly, then that'll be the motivation. That's why that's one of our points. So that's what we're educating the public about. But yeah, thank you.
Thank you. I have a procedural question because I am also a journalist, and I can't audio record or tape record without asking for permission.
By asking for permission, and I do apologize for that. Let's retroactively do that instead.
And what are you going to do with this?
We'll post it on YouTube as well as some of our social media outlets. If you flip to the back, you can see how you can email us as well as follow us on @FL Reparations on Twitter.
The next question is if anybody disapproves of being put on YouTube or social media.
I don't.
You don't disapprove or you don't approve?
I don't disapprove.
Okay.
I'm cool with it, in other words. Okay, we're good. We're good.
Anybody else? Yeah, thank you for
keeping
thank
us.
you for that.
Yeah,
We appreciate you for that.
a journalist in D.C. as well, so I
understand.
get in trouble sometimes.
How long y'all been in there? In existence?
So another story, forgot to ask.
The FRCC was founded, when did we found, is that FRCC? Was it January of this year?
Yeah.
And we did our first pull-up, actually. These events started last year in September. We were doing the pull-ups. But out of the pull-ups came, the creation of FRCC and other initiatives as well across the country.
Yes, this is considered
Thank y'all for pulling up.
No problem. Thank you for contributing.
Thank you.
All right, y'all have a good one.
I'll get on y'all distribution list.
Send us an email, please. Yeah. All right, family, we're here at the Dollar General in Jacksonville, Florida, which was the scene where 3 Black Americans lost their lives. They were brutally murdered by gun violence from a white terrorist, a white domestic terrorist. And so we basically come in to pay our respects and just kind of have a moment of recognizing what we're up against in this country, what we've been up against for hundreds of years and continue to face, which is, more of a reason why we do what we do with FRCC. Reparations is also protection, anti-Black American hate crime bill, and so on. So one of them got to always creep in.
How
y'all doing?
Hey.
So we're at Headwaters? Not long. There's some regular water or lemon water or something. Oh man. I should have got me some. I need some lemon and cucumber water.
We getting off on 2?
3.
I ain't used to people.
First part, I cut over the music, so.
All right, good evening, brothers.
Good evening.
Again, thank you for, giving us more insight on A. Philip Randolph and, the presentation as a whole. I'm Brother Sankofa with Florida Reparations Compliance Committee. We take on the job of advocacy, for reparations within the state of Florida. And with Brother A. Philip Randolph being such a prominent figure in civil rights, particularly around economic justice and fighting racism in labor and industry, he also went so far as to propose a freedom budget, something like a universal basic income. I wanted to know if you all could give more insight, or maybe that brother back there may know of any materials or writings that could give us like some type of idea of what his stance would have been on reparations. It's my personal opinion that I think he would have been pro-reparations. Also, I would like to know what do we have to do to get, namely Phi Beta Sigma, as well as other Divine Nine organizations, to be more vocal and take on a more prominent role in advocating for reparations to Black Americans. Direct cash payments, that is.
You probably have more of a chance to talk to us 4 particular brothers than 5 people. about that reparations piece than the national organization. But I think, in the case of A. Philip Randolph, I think you're right. The stuff that he was able to negotiate on behalf of the Pullman porters, particularly in terms of back wages and things like that, it's a form of limited reparations. I have no doubt, particularly in the context of the kind of wage theft that has occurred for black workers over the last century, that he would have definitely been on board a conversation around reparations.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Thank you all for putting on this event. When we talk about Philip A. Randolph, from my understanding, the brother was regarded as the dean of Negro leaders. And in my humble assessment, if he was the dean, then Martin Luther King Jr. would have been the valedictorian. And so I bring up Dr. King because when I think of when we were at our best as a people, it was when we were being led by black men and women who were totally convicted in a higher power. Be it Nat Turner, Elijah Muhammad, or Fannie Lou Hamer. But today, an institution that was once a powerhouse for us, I respectfully submit has become a political and economic slaughterhouse against us. So my question would be, how can we return the world of black religion to the luster of the days of Dr. King and Malcolm X?
I mean, for me, it's really just continuing to have these conversations and organizing, right? Because again, that's what I like about the quote that was put on the bottom of that statue of monuments, was that it's about organizing. When I hear that, it implies not just activism, but intentional solidarity, which means we have to get out of our own way to do this work. We get egos, we get big-headed, we get a lot of things that really get in the way. And I think in order for us to really go into it with a social movement, we have to do it in solidarity. And for that, you really need leaders that are empathetic and humble. And that's very difficult, because even the folks that are fighting a good fight and they're doing grassroots movements sometimes adopt the same leadership styles that they rebuke. Mm-hmm. And until we have a really, since Dr. Johnson put it out there, come to Jesus moment about these types of barriers, I think we might have this conversation again in 10 years. I would love to avoid that. But we have to be able to deal with this. I mean, again, what Brother Neil said about A. Philip Randolph being able to acknowledge Baird Rustin and James Baldwin in that way. That's no small thing, especially in those days, right? And so we have to build upon that. We can't just, he did that and that's all good. Like, we had to build upon that. That takes conversation, that takes humility, and that takes intention from a collective, not from just one person.
And real quick, I just want to add to that also, I will just say some of that is already happening today, but just like in '63, as it is in 2023, the religion that you're talking about, the liberative, empowering type of religion, is always going to be rebuked and pushed back on. So it looks like, because quite frankly, it is. Most folk are doing something totally different. It's only the faithful few that's doing this work. You bring up King. King, when he died, was what, 29% approval? Everybody hated King. They hated, they thought what he was going too fast. But now, 50 years later, we can look back. The same thing is happening right now. A lot of people are on the ground doing good justice work, doing what I would consider holy work. However, most of the folk that are not looking at that or not seeing that as being important. I just think we need to also open our eyes and know where to look if we're looking for these systems, these holistic institutions that are doing the work, so that we may join them and then do the work as well too.
I just want to add that quickly. Yeah. Brother Dr. Johnson, jump in on this. I think also be careful not to romanticize before. Because that 1960 National Baptist Convention is like some real housewives of Atlanta shit. When people that we have grown, exactly, when people that we've grown to respect and think highly of, right, that was some mess. Back then it was all about ego and sense of masculinity and the direction of the movement and all those kinds of things, right? So you will find wonderful examples, but also problematic examples that make us look at this moment, I think, in a better light.
Right. Good question, though. Yeah.
Good afternoon, everybody. Nice panel. I definitely appreciated the build on A. Philip Randolph. Myself personally, I love A. Philip Randolph. I feel like his legacy and what he stood for actually gets watered down a lot, kind of like Martin Luther King, right? We kind of get the watered down version of we get Martin Luther King. Everybody got to hold hands and sing songs, but we don't get this time when we come to the White House, we come for our check Martin Luther King. We don't ever get that. My thing is with A. Philip Randolph. I know that he was a staunch person on immigration restrictions, with the Marcus Garvey thing, and how he said that the country was pretty much had immigration indigestion. So I would like to know how y'all feel, how you think A. Philip Randolph will feel today with being the borders wide open, illegal immigrants everywhere running around. Black Americans aren't allowed to say anything about immigration because we get gaslit and get called xenophobic. We just supposed to let anybody and everybody come over here and just take resources and stuff like that. So how do y'all feel A. Philip Randolph will feel about today's climate with the immigration?
Well, I mean, I would think that he would. Well, I don't know what he would think. I'll tell you what I'm like.
The live stream is also
right. Just as I just think about that question. I think it's a powerful question, and also think about how posing that question seems to lean in on the divisiveness that white supremacy provides. And that's really what I'm thinking about. I don't necessarily have a strategic answer for you. That's something deep and profound, like some of my frat might have as soon as I'm done. But for me, that's what I think about. Like, when we start posing those questions to one another, who wins?
That's right.
I don't think it's us.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for the panel. My question is, I'm my first time being in Jacksonville. I love the history. I just love the energy of it. But when I was driving around in some of the areas, I noticed stark decay and neglect in particularly black neighborhoods. I'm sorry. I just noticed that there's particular neglect in certain black neighborhoods that have seemed to be historic. They look like they've been sitting there neglected for decades now. I'm just wondering how, in this situation, we are honoring A. Philip Randolph when it seems to look like, in this time in 2023, Black American lives are worse in Jacksonville than even when they were during his time. Unfortunately, about 2-3 weeks ago, we had a tragedy in this city. We won't talk about that, but we know what that tragedy was. And it is akin to the climate that seems to be coming up again, that's foaming this sort of hatred and racial whatever it is going on. And we're here in Jacksonville trying to honor his legacy when work still needs to be done. So my question, I guess, for you is, as we are in his town, and I guess he kind of asked her, how is this really honoring him when there's so much that's left on the table? And that's number one. And then number two, since we're here and I am a teacher and I need to send something back to these young people to do something, what are we doing? What are we doing to keep his legacy relevant and keep it relevant for particularly Black Americans who, by and large, are worse now than they were when he was here and advocating and fighting for us? And I'll leave it at that.
Second part of the question is, what do we do to provide resources for teachers and students?
My argument is that we're honoring Dr. Randall right now. And we're in a situation where Black Americans and the people that he was fighting for are worse off than they were when he was here. So I'm saying that now in 2023, what are the steps and what are the strategies to continue, because we're anti-socialist now, of course, we're even more racially hatred and racially divided in the climate that we are in this country, in the state in particularly. And we have a city that still, especially in certain areas, is at a standstill with no resources, and it doesn't look like any resources are ever coming. I just left EW University, the historical. Yikes. I'm just gonna say it, yikes. It needs help. It needs help. It needs help. You guys tell us we want us to organize, we gotta organize, you're gonna organize. If you have a university like that that's stuck in almost the 19th century, how are our students gonna organize? And that's really where I fight at. How are our Black American students gonna organize with a university that looks like that? And you go across the beach over there at Florida State, and there you are. So my question is, we're honoring Dr. Randolph. Black Americans are still in a bad predicament, especially right here in this city. What are our goals? What is our panel pushing forward and giving advice for people who are following the message, but we realize we gotta push it forward because it still needs, we're still work to be done. There's still too much work to be done. How are we pushing his message forward so it's viable for us?
I think part of it is we can't rely on being active just simply because it's an election. I think too often we pressure our local politicians, and I think it's like very appropriate to say all politics are local, right? But we go out and vote for president, we don't vote for our council people. Yep. We don't vote for our judges, right? We can't change the system if we don't empower ourselves to use our power to force people to do things we want them to do. And I think part of this is listening to some of the folks who are here is to organize locally. You don't need, look, the Porters, when they were organizing, it wasn't 1 million of them, right? It was like 10,000 of them. And they changed the system. They took on one of the largest capitalists, one of the most wealthy individuals in the United States, and they forced him to do the things that they wanted him to do for the betterment of their people, right? So I think that, and it was difficult. They started in the 20s and they recognized in 1935, right? There was a number of failures, there was a number of snitches, there was a number of spies, and people were fired, or threatened, or run out of town. And I think part of the issue we have is that we're so afraid, right? Florida, I come from Illinois. I live in the most corrupt city, in the most corrupt county, in the most corrupt state probably in the United States, right? But Florida is a fascist state now. And I understand one of the reasons that Asala came down here is that people are afraid and people need help, they need support. So we come down here for that. And what I would hope is that some of the momentum that was built at this conference, knowing that there are people across the country that stand with the people of Florida, that some of this momentum is carried out back into the community. And I will say this as someone who's been a member of the association and been and active in various levels of the association, that Asala stands with the people of Florida. That's why we came here. That's why we came here after George Zimmerman got off. Every time we come here for the issue. We come here to support the people of the state of Florida, black people in the state of Florida. That's what Woodson would have done. But to go back to the Edward Border College thing, I think that, and I wish the camera was on, because I would challenge our international president, Chris B. Ray, to do something in Florida, because our founder, one of our founders was the president of Edward Waters College. And because the fraternity did not say anything about that publicly, I think that's...
Family, this is your boy Sonny G with the Florida Reparations Compliance Committee. I'm out here with my brother Lionel Kimball. Brother Lionel Kimball, what does the Asala conference mean to you?
Well, I think this is the only conference I go to. I mean, I'm a historian by trade, but I don't go to any of the white organizations conferences. I come here because Asala is not just a conference; it's more like a family reunion. We look forward to seeing each other every year. We try to bring economic development to black communities, black restaurants, black businesses. Then we have a very vibrant section here for retailers and exhibitors. So for me, going to Asala means doing black work, doing work for our people.
Definitely, definitely. And what does reparations for Black Americans look like to you?
Well, I think we need to have the systematic investment in our schools, our infrastructure, our communities. You know, I think some people advocate for direct payments to the people. I have no problem with that. But I think one of the things we need to do is that we need to hold people, corporate America, the government, our local government, federal government, state government, we need to hold them accountable for the shit they do to us. You know, we need to, my state, we have no cash bail. You know, we need to do things to try to make, try to reinvestment that marijuana money back into the communities and try to fix some shit through some of the stuff they've been penalizing and punishing us for a number of years.
Thank you. Thank you, Brother Lionel.
All right, take it easy.
Thank you, man.
In doing this type of work, when we document history, sometimes we create a master narrative. Like we blame, white people sometimes for creating a master narrative, but sometimes we could do the same thing if we're not careful. Right? We can make it all about King and Parks and Douglas and Tubman, but then we forget about people who are architects of the movement, like Asa Philip Randolph, or someone like Hosea Williams, or we know we don't have enough interpretation around the Black Panther Party with Huey P. Newton, Eldridge Cleaver, and all those folks. So we get in our own way sometimes, and that's why I made the comment earlier. Like, we could talk about solidarity, we can talk about community building, but like if we're going to use the same operations that the people that we're rebuking are using, right? It's the whole Master's Tools thing that Audre Lorde warned us about. If we're going to use the same Master's Tools and try to build something different, we're going to be short every time. We have to come up with new tools.
Gotcha. And I appreciate you for saying that. And so one of the things that we discuss on a daily basis and things that we're working towards is reparative justice for Black Americans, because we do understand that at the end of the day, the biggest travesty that's going on with us right now is that we can't really afford to survive in the country that our ancestors built. So just what are your thoughts as it pertains to reparations? Do you think it should be cash-based? What form do you think it should be in?
Yeah, I think reparations should come by the way of policy, resources, which would include cash, but I think it's a systemic issue, so it really requires a systemic solution, so it can't be just resolved with $3 million, right? If every person got $3 million, I don't know if that will resolve it, right? Because the policies are the same, the attitude is the same, the education system is the same, and so I think it has to be inclusive, it has to be systemic. I was part of a conference back in April by this organization called the Institute of Genocide and Mass Atrocity Prevention. And a brother from Rwanda asked me, I was on a panel, he's like, well, Omar, what do you think it looks like when you have reparations? And for me, what it means is it has to be a justice framework where people are no longer having to navigate the hegemony. I don't have to navigate things because I'm Black. I don't have to women don't have to navigate things because they're women. If we have to continue to navigate and jump through hoops, then there is no reparations. Reparations is for nothing.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay, and then my final thing would be to ask you, what would you say to the people that would push back and say, when the Native Americans got paid, when the Asians got paid, with the form of payment that we sent off to Israel, even though they got paid, policies didn't necessarily change as far as the education system in this country goes, et cetera, et cetera. What would you say to push back like that?
Yeah, I think it's exactly what you said in your question. I mean, if we're going to look at that as a comparison, what was the impact? I mean, it seems to me that Native Americans are still struggling. Asian Americans are still struggling. People are still getting bullied and pushed around, right? So if we're going to look at this as a comparison, I think it's a lesson learned for us to push for a systemic solution.
Gotcha. Well, I appreciate you for taking the time out. Like I said, great conference, and I appreciate you, dear brother.
Man, I appreciate y'all being here, man.
Thank you.
Right, man. And thank you for your questions.
Yo, what's good, everybody? This your boy, Sonny G, with the Florida Reparations Compliance Committee. I'm here with my brother Carl. What does the Asala conference mean to you?
It means a lot. This is a traveling Black History conference, and being that we got politics going crazy and a lot of tourism and NAACP not coming down here, the fact that we still have culture and Black history still present down here, it means a lot. Especially to businesses like this, because this is a business for a Black man. Yeah,
that's a fact. And what does reparations for Black Americans look like to you?
It's got to be more than just money. It's got to be land. It's got to be taxes. It's got to be stuff that we can also invest in, because like they can gonna lower the price of money. As a matter of fact, if they was to say, hey, we're doing the reparation stimulus right now, the dollar's already been diminished. We need land because you can leverage with land. You can leverage with businesses. The same thing that they give people who just off the boat, they need to be giving it to us. We built this country. Why are we paying taxes? You know what I'm saying? So it's got to be free education. We should not be paying for higher. We built those, higher learners education institutions. So it can't just be just a cash handout. It's got to be something that's going to actually elevate and build the community back up.
That's a fact. And how far have you traced your lineage back to?
I'm Gullah Geechee for real. Like I'm real Gullah Geechee. So like and a lot of people don't even really know what that means. A lot of blacks, they started out living on the coastal land. Colonizers thought they had it on inside. They realized how good we have it because we was living off of the land. We was catching fish, and stuff like that. And they decided they wanted to run us inland and buy American Beach and buy Atlantic Beach and put resorts and stuff out on it. And now our water is green because they got all of these shopping malls and stuff where we were using that same river to eat. But my wife is Ghanaian, so like we've been talking about all the time to do doing the research. Hopefully I can come up Ghanaian and not Nigerian because it would be a mixed marriage.
Facts, and we actually are talking, me and my team in the works of going down to Hilton Head, South Carolina next month. It's just an elder there. I forget her first name, but her
talking about Queen Quet?
No, Mrs. Wright.
Mrs. Wright.
She's had a home and her family since the 1800s, and they're trying to take her property.
See, and the thing about it is, I was just at a conference about heirs property. See, and the thing about it is that everybody, they just want to sell grandmama house because they owe taxes on it, and or they don't, or the roof leaks, so it's always been a hood, and not had a bad experience. Not realizing that's generational wealth. There are programs in the city that are coming that'll get an AC up the code, that'll come in, get construction up the code, make sure things are level. If black people just do their research, you can't wait till it's DEFCON 3 or Code Red to all of a sudden start doing the research to save the house. Like, that's how they do it, intimate domain. Like, I get text messages every day, people trying to buy my mama house. Like, these Italians are coming in historic Springfield, and they buying these big old 5-story houses for pennies on the dollar and selling them for $500,000. So, like, we got to make sure, we got to get our people the right wheels. If you don't have an insurance policy, you already 5 steps behind the game. You can borrow against it. You can use it for cash. You can build trust on it. Those are the type of things that save, our community, not Bugattis and Lamborghinis and golds. So like mama house is the one thing that everybody got. Mama house is equity. Mama house is a loan. Mama house is stuff that you can spend. So it may be just an old rickety thing to you, but if you put time in it, you saving a legacy, and that's wealth. That land ain't never. It's the one thing they're not making no more, my brother. They're not making land no more. So if you own a piece of land, hold on to that land because they're not out here just reproduction land unless they find a way to go to Mars. So you definitely want to hold on to your land.
That's a fact. Y'all heard it from my brother Carl. Don't sell Granny house.
Hey, make sure y'all hit up African Gentlemen.
That's a fact. Put us on. You show us a call for quick.
Thank you.
Show us a call for quick, brother Carl.
So this is made for men. This is it. I got tired of trying to find all my stuff in the back of women boutiques, so I started a custom shop for men. So I got custom stuff from Senegal. I got stuff from Sierra Leone. Like I said, my artists in Ghana. I got Nigerian fossils. Like this is traditional Ghanaian. Leather bags, made in Ghana. Even got some Afrofuturism. Short sets.
Sonny like that one like that.
Yeah. Hey, it's a custom piece too.
Hey, that look good on me. I appreciate you, brother Carl. Yo, what's good, everybody? This your boy Sonny G with the Florida Reparations Compliance Committee. I'm out here with my brother Ferris. He got all the body creams and the butters and stuff for you. Brother Ferris, what does the Asala conference mean to you?
Oh, it's a great conference of black people coming together and spouting out the history, because we telling our own stories these days. So it's a great conference.
Definitely, most definitely. And what does reparations for black Americans look like to you?
Education, education, education. More education. That's what it means to me.
Okay.
Because you just give them some money, they ain't gonna do nothing with that. They just gonna spend that. But you educate them, you're gonna treat them for a lifetime. They gonna, it's like that saying, give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. teach him to fish, you feed him for a lifetime. So that's my thing on the reparations.
Okay, but you don't oppose.
Oh no, I don't oppose. I'm all for it.
Okay.
Yeah, all for it.
Okay. All right, thank you, Brother Ferris.
Oh, no problem. I'm still mad at that brother for blowing me off.
What did he do?
Man, he blew me off. I said, hey man, keep that juju off. He walked away like I had to play.
All right, peace, family. It's Brother Sankofa with the Florida Reparations Compliance Committee. I'm actually speaking to our brother, Mr. Lawrence Blinky Walden, excuse me, who's a very talented artist, a Black American hailing from Chicago. And just wanted to have some words with him because he does amazing work, and also we want to preserve the legacy and history of Black Americans in this country and the contributions that we've made. So if you can just tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started making art.
Well, I was born and raised in Chicago in a very unique family. My mother wrote poetry, so I write poetry. My uncles, one was an artist. His name was Artist, and he graduated from the University Art Institute in Chicago 4 years ahead of time because they couldn't teach him anything. My other uncle, who was a pastor of our church, instilled in me the relationship between man, women, and God. And so one of the things that I do about my art, my legacy, is the result of my concept of what great art is. And great art for me is the result of a collaboration between God and the artist, our Father who art in heaven. So that's one of the things that I live by. I was the first black quarterback on my high school's football team in Chicago. And in 1964, when I got drafted, I said, no, I don't want to go to the Army. It was during the Vietnam War. So I threw it in the trash and ran down and joined the Air Force. FBI was looking for me, and I'm in basic training. And while I was in the Air Force, I had the opportunity to meet and do costume designs for Isaac Hayes and Jimi Hendrix. I was stationed in Germany. That's how I met Jimi Hendrix over in Paris. I was a technical illustrator in the Air Force, and I was the featured jazz vocalist in the Air Force band. And one of the things that I do is I do a tribute to Billy Eckstine. Alone from night to night, you'll find me too weak to break the chains that bind me. I need no shackles to remind me I'm just a prisoner of your love. So I'm kind of like a well-rounded entrepreneur of the arts. And then I've had the opportunity to work with Isaac Hayes, Michael Jackson, Snoop Dogg, Earth, Wind and Fire, and the list goes on and on. I did album covers for the jazz organist Jimmy Smith, and those are some of the things that I've done as far as my art is concerned. I've traveled extensively over my years. I actually have the first drawing that I ever had published from the school newspaper from 1953. So I've actually been doing art for some 70 years. And a note from my kindergarten teacher to my mother that I'm going to be a great artist one day. So one day I was singing at a jazz festival in Milwaukee, met some people that told me about Jacksonville, Florida. I came here for the opening of Jacksonville, Florida, and as of now I have pieces on display at the Ritz Museum in their Through Our Eyes series, which is a 30-year combination there. So I have some pieces down there. And I got tired of shoveling snow, so I decided to stay here in Jacksonville, Florida. And then I've had the opportunity to meet some people that were doing some great things here. And so I like Jacksonville, and I travel. Also, right now in Miami, Florida, if any familiar with Overtown. Overtown in Miami, Florida, back in the day, in the 30s and the 40s, there was only 2 or 3 hotels that African Americans could stay at. One was the Dunn's Josephine Hotel, which has been refurbished and is open now. The theme of the entire hotel is the Harlem Renaissance. I'm doing all the artwork for the entire hotel. Each room is named after one of the significant personnels of the Harlem Renaissance. It's the James Weldon Johnson suite, the Mary McLeod Bethune suite, the Nat King Cole, the Nicholas Brothers suite, and so on and so on. So, and all of my African masks are downstairs. So that's been a work in progress over the past 6 years, and I'm still doing some work with them. And living here in Jacksonville, I've had the opportunity to participate. I've been a member of Asala, the Association for the Study of African American Life and History, for the past 15 years. And this is the third convention that I've actually physically done, and it's really, really doing very well. I think I've said enough to fill a couple of books, and there's some more.
Well, you haven't talked about your art in specific. You haven't talked about your mixed medias, your portraits.
Okay. Well, we can get to that. I have just a couple questions for him that I do want to get his insight on.
Okay.
Because I know we can really talk a lot about your art and get a lot of stuff.
Okay.
Now, you were explaining about your family life growing up,
right.
And earlier you started talking a little bit about your lineage. I know you said you didn't know much, but if you could share with us, where does your family history go as far as you know?
Well, as far as I know, my father was from Cleveland, Ohio. My mother's parents are from Macon, Georgia. I lived in the house with my great-grandmother. She passed away when she was 114. She had a degree in sewing from Spelman. My grandfather is from Macon, Georgia. But I haven't gone back further than that. And as of now, I'm the last living member in my whole entire family, because my mother never had any, my uncles never had any children. I've got some children, but they grown and gone, and well, that's a whole other story all by itself.
Well, so you've lived a long time, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
And I know you've seen a lot of changes. A lot of things, pretty much. Particularly, in the lives of Black Americans.
Yes.
Us as an organization, first and foremost, we advocate for reparations. I just want to know, are you familiar with the reparations movement? And if so, what would be your thoughts on it currently?
Well, I know a little bit about it, maybe not as much as I should. I was kind of an oddball individual when I was in the military. They couldn't really figure out what the deal was with me, because being light-skinned, black man with blue eyes, wait a minute, why is he so Afrocentric? And my grandfather told me, now imagine this, in 1953 when I went to school, where you had to sign out what your race was, I was saying black, because my grandfather told me that the definition of the word black is a combination of all color. And if you sat at my dinner table when I was a little boy, every shade of black was sitting at that table. And he said, white is the absence of color. So all my life I've been saying I'm black. I was also an oddball in the military, because I was one of the staff writers for the Black Panther Party while I was in the military.
Oh, wow.
And as a result of that, they was trying to figure me out, and at some point in time, I got court-martialed for willful destruction of government property. Had to serve a little time in the Air Force Retraining Center. Met somebody who helped me. I sued the military, got all my back pay, got all my rank, got my honorable discharge, got all that going. And that's kind of like, I've gotten a little reparation, but I need to get some more. We all need to get some more, And and it's amazing. I always meet and talk and have conversations with people, and that's how I get inspired to do the art. So a couple of years ago, I was doing some research, and I found out that the Europeans went into Africa many, many years ago, and that's how they got the concept for their platters, their plates, their trays, their spoons, and their forks. Because see, a fork is an extension of your fingers, the spoon is the coupling of your hand, the knife is your arm, and that's how they came up with their designs for their fine dining cutlery. And I was trying to find a new art form. So based on that, I'm repurposing European fine dining cutlery into African masks and other African-orientated artifacts to show where the concept of where those utilities came from in the first place.
Okay, Great. So very great stories from you. I've gotten a earful, honestly, but in a good way.
Thank you.
I would definitely want to hear you talk about some of your pieces. I mean, what are some of your pieces that you really think stand out, or that you really have an interesting story behind? I see it looks like one of your repurposed pieces are behind us as well.
This is an angel, and again, that's the handles of sterling silver spoons and forks, and that's part of a tray. This is cut out of aluminum, and it actually has a little halo on there. That's one of the pieces that I've done, and then that's a Sankofa bird, which is the Adinkra symbol, which means literally means go back and get it. I have a huge one that's down there that has 250 pieces of sterling silver in it. It's sitting all the way down at the other end. So hopefully you go down and take a picture of it. I've done this one is this is a tribute to Jimi Hendrix, and there again can you imagine spoons, forks, and knives, platters, and trays playing a real guitar? Come on now. And I've got one that's hanging over at the Ritz that's actually playing a saxophone. My painting, it all depends on what mood I'm in. In the course of a day, I might paint, I might do some collage work, I might do some abstract work. For the past couple of years, I've been doing a lot of portraits. I just recently did a portrait of the president of the national president of Asala. Where is it? Dr. Delaney. And this is a portrait that I painted of Dr. Delaney. And they brought him over yesterday, and before I could tell him how much it was, he said, "I want that." So he actually bought it. He's coming to buy it, pick it up tomorrow, and give me the information on how to ship it to him. I painted a portrait of the new mayor, Donna Deegan of Jacksonville, and the reason that I took it upon myself to paint a portrait of the new mayor of Jacksonville is because I did a little research on her family, and years and years and years ago, her family was responsible for opening doors and assisting African Americans get work and do some things. So she's been a pro person, and so I hope she continues to do great things here in Jacksonville.
And how can people contact you if they're interested in your artwork? Or how can they actually go and view your artwork for people who are not here physically?
I'm in the process of putting together a virtual gallery. That's it, works in progress. And there'll be some Instagram hookups. But right now, you can reach my personal manager, Miss Ramona Roberts, and she'll give you the information.
And what's your contact information that you can give to the people?
You can reach me at 904-207-3494.
Thank you so much. And thank you, Mr. Walden.
Well, thank you.
Brother Blinky.
Okay.
And yeah, it's been a very enriching interview.
All right.
Probably one of my best so far.
Oh, I love it. Well, we have to get together because I've got about 9 hours of worth of conversation for you, young man.
Absolutely. Well, we got your manager's number, and also you all can contact us at FloridaReparations@gmail.com.
Okay.
We also have a Twitter, and you can see our 6 points of our platform.
Okay.
As well as our mission statement, just basically what the organization stands for, and see how you can get involved.
We have to talk about us doing an art and jazz and history fundraising project for you all.
Okay, I didn't have the mic up to him, but the brother just said we need to talk about doing an art, jazz, and history fundraising project for us.
Right.
Big things. Thank you again.
Thank you.
All right, sir.
All right. Enjoy.
Thank you.
It's that Sankofa bird, huh?
Yeah, it's the Sankofa right there too. Yeah, that's my name, Sankofa, so that's why.
Get out.
Yeah,
You know what it
all
means.
the Sankofa standing out to me.
Go back and get it.
Go back and get it.
So what we do is we have a call to action called Secure the Tribe. So we just took a picture of the shirt. We have points about delineation, lineage-based reparations and things like that. And we just pretty much share it to galvanize the people and get them aware about what reparations is, so that when we go to these ballots and things of that nature and we're talking to these politicians, our people have good talking points and we're not just going in as depending on whether or not we like the politician to vote for them.
Okay, I don't know if I'll make sense, but...
Oh, no, you will. You're fine. Well, my name is Marcellus. I'm with the Secure the Tribe call to action, and I just wanted to ask you, based off of what you heard today from us about reparations, what are your thoughts on reparations as a Black American?
Well, I'm definitely in favor of it. I mean, I live in Kansas City. We have an active group there who's seeking local reparations on the Kansas City, Missouri side. I live on the Kansas side, however. I was active in reparations way back in the 90s, but definitely in favor. I think the big questions are how it would come about, and I think there's so many different viewpoints on that. We need to come together and seek some solutions for what it would look like. How it would best benefit our people. Other than that, it's a struggle, and it's going to be a long fight. It's not going to be easy.
And that leads me to my next question, because obviously the reparations fight is not something that is new. It's something that our people have been dealing with for the better part of the last 60, 70 years. So my question to you is, do you think that in your lifetime you will see reparations for Black Americans delivered?
That's a difficult one. My initial thought was to say no, but I think because reparations can come in different forms, there's the possibility of some variety of it, but to the extent that we want to see it, I don't know that I'm that optimistic that we'll see it in my lifetime. You're younger.
Thank you so much for that, man. You have a good night, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Peace, family. This is your boy Sonny G with the Florida Reparations Compliance Committee. I'm here with our sister Sheila today. Sister Sheila, what does the Asala conference mean to you?
It means identity. It means power, communication. It means resilience. Community. Yeah.
That's a fact. That's a fact. And how do you feel about reparations for Black Americans?
I think it's something that is on the table that should be opened and discussed and talked about. But at the same time, I think that we as a people are moving forward, although we're still in the fire and in the fight. I think that we're moving forward.
Facts. And we've seen that, other different groups of people have received reparations already. The Jews, they got reparations, they got cash. The Native Americans, they got land, they got cash. The Japanese internment people, they got land, they got cash. How do you feel about direct cash payments for Black Americans?
I think that is a controversial topic, and again, I think as a people that we're moving forward, and there's a lot to be discussed still with the fire that we're still in, and I'm not exactly what direction we're going to go in that way, but we are unique people, so I don't think that we need to follow the footsteps of any other group of people.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Sonny G with the Full Reparations Compliance Committee signing out.
Why does it always seem like when it comes to Black America's pain and the things that we went through and all the atrocities we've been through in this country, we always get symbolism? And what I see in the slides here is that, so what I see all the time when it comes to Black America, I'm a Black American, I trace my lineage on my mother's side to 1690 in this country, my father's side 1730. on documents coming from the Picnic Plantation in South Carolina. Which plantation? The Picnic Plantation out of South Carolina, and the Maddox Plantation out of Virginia, Franklin County, Virginia. And what I see is that every time it comes to what we go through, we always get symbolism, nice murals, statues, and stuff like that. And I see different people who are not Black American in the slides. How come these allies that people say that we have, how come they never advocate for Black Americans to get reparations? Because it seems like reparations will help out Bragtown, just like, you know, it helped out the Native Americans who got reparations, the Jewish community, they got reparations, Japanese, they got reparations, but Black Americans built this country by themselves, brick by brick, from scratch. And nobody is advocating for reparations, but we hear that we have all these allies, but they never advocate for, when it's time to get tangibles and resources, specifically for us, not people of color, not minorities, not BIPOC, specifically for Black Americans, right? Because everybody else gets tangibles and resources specifically for them. How come nobody is advocating for reparations in Bragtown?
They would actually support that community in particular. So I didn't have a chance, just because of time, to explain, but you were, I shared earlier that I have an interest.
All right, peace family. Brother Sankofa with the Florida Reparations Compliance Committee. I have Brother
Charles Johnson.
Charles Johnson, and you are a professor at
North Carolina Central University in Durham, North Carolina.
Okay. And what is it, your area, your subject area?
So I'm the chair of the Department of History, the director of the public history program there. African diaspora history, community and local history.
African diaspora history and
community and local history.
Community and local history. Right. Okay. And your lineage, does it lead back to, I guess, U.S.? Are you a Black American, or do you have like an immigrant background or any type of Caribbean or diasporic lineage?
Yeah, so as best as I can determine doing the DNA, I have on my father's side we go back, and mother's side we go back to Nigeria, and then on my dad's side we also have Ghana and then parts of West Central Africa.
Okay, so in terms of your lineage, you only know what the DNA tests have told you? Have you done any other type of genealogical research?
Absolutely, yeah. I've worked on my family's genealogy for the past, 30 years, I would say, and as a scholar and intellectual, I have a real interest in the provenance of people. So I was fascinated when we were speaking inside, and the brother was sharing, and he knew like the different, we don't call them plantations, we call them slave labor camps, because that's what they were. But he knew the names of them and where they were, and it's important because there's scholars who have done research that show where different African ethnicities were landed in the Americas. And then there's the component also of, in the Carolinas in particular, we were enslaved alongside indigenous people who were already here, the Indians here. And at a very early stage in our experiences here, you had in a mixture of Indians and African people.
But in terms of your own lineage, genealogy, quickly, what did you find?
Okay, so my father's people trace back, and that's where I have the best information, trace back to a place called Bermuda 100, which is just east of Petersburg, Virginia.
Okay.
They were enslaved by a family who were the Moors. The Moors were Methodist preachers, and they started out in Bermuda 100. Bermuda 100 is where the start of the Occoneechee Road begins, which was an Indian road that leads ultimately from that place in eastern Virginia to Augusta, Georgia, but it comes through North Carolina. And they came down, I would imagine, the Occoneechee Road. They lived in North Carolina for a while. and then they moved into South Carolina, probably following cotton. Then they settled in Coosa County, Alabama, and that's where at post-emancipation you will find the majority of my family. And from there, then we moved to other places, cities in the South, Birmingham, and the like, and then following the Great Migration to other places as well.
Very interesting, very interesting. So you just did a presentation and you were talking about a mural project that y'all were doing in Durham, North Carolina, and I guess the purpose of that was to preserve, if I'm quoting it correctly, to preserve the history of the original Black American inhabitants of the community while still trying to embrace and create community with what were called the newcomers, or basically gentrifiers or colonizers. Right. Can you tell us a little bit about that, just for, I guess the recording purposes?
Sure, absolutely. So I come from Durham, North Carolina. Durham is, I think, a really unique city in the South. It was a chocolate city. It was a city that really came about in the second half of the 19th century. African Americans began to move there more assuredly in the 1890s because of tobacco industry there. But it was a place that was unique because African Americans there were able to create a very strong economic base. So in 1898 you had the development of North Carolina Mutual Life and Provident Association, which would over the course of the 20th century grow to become the largest black-owned business in the United States. In 1901 you had the development of Lincoln Hospital, which meant that now you had nurses and doctors and all African American because of Jim Crow. In 1907 Mechanics and Farmers Bank was built to support savings and also people being able to buy homes and fund businesses getting started and so forth. And in 1910 the National Religious Training School in Chautauqua, which is today North Carolina Central University, was established. So that was the era of institution builders, right? So if we understand that communities rest on pillars, you have a political pillar, a religious pillar, a social pillar, but they are on an economic base. As long as that economic base is strong, then the community will be strong. You destroy the economic base, and then those pillars become destabilized. We can understand that, right? So Durham was very much a racially segregated community for most of the 20th century. Even in my lifetime, I grew up in the Emory Woods subdivision, which was an all-black subdivision, one way in and one way out, right? So when whites came into that community, most often when I was younger, we just assumed that they were lost because there was no through street in that community, and we didn't often have whites that visited in the community, even though I was part of the generation that went to school with white kids. All right, so that's just sort of the context or background to Durham. Now, that was, like other parts of the United States, destroyed largely by government policies such as urban renewal, right? And urban renewal, if you look at Dr. Mindy Fullylove's work, The Root Shock, she indicates that about 80% of African American families were impacted by urban renewal. And you have all of this displacement and the breakup of communities. One of the communities in Durham that was broken up that way was the Hayti community, which was a very prominent African American community. That's where many of our small business owners were. After they broke that community up, we did not get those businesses back. That occurred all over the United States. So what happened?
How did they break it up exactly?
So eminent domain, right? So they built highways through the community, right? So, and when they did that, all of those small business owners, where did they go? They had to now go into the mainstream economy, the white economy, right, to go to work, not for themselves, but for someone else to support themselves.
So in particularly, like the community of Bragtown, which is where you put in the mural, right? What happened there to where, I guess you could say the threshold was open for people from outside groups, be they white, Latino, or whatever, to come in and, purchase up property and pretty much displace the original inhabitants? What happened with that story?
Okay, so there are a number of, that's an excellent question. There are a number of factors, right? So one of them is that people age and die off, their homes become available. People purchase those homes. Anyone can purchase those homes. Investors, people who have the most resources are most likely to be able to get those homes, right? So you have developers who come in and purchase homes that for different reasons have become available. Once they do that and you have people move, new people move into the community can begin to then change. Developers will offer people what looks like a lot of money to be able to get out of their homes. Oftentimes it's not. It's barely over what they could get themselves for, right? And they'll sell their homes and then develop them. More people come into the community. But what ends up happening is people will then refurbish those homes, the value of the houses go up, and the tax base then goes up, and that begins to squeeze out the residents that are there. In the Bragtown community, it has a very interesting and unique history because it's just south of what was the largest slave labor camp in the state of North Carolina. We call it collectively today Stagville, but it was 30,000 acres. I'm not misspeaking. We believe now that there were about 3,000 of our people enslaved on that slave labor camp, right? That is, not surprisingly, the history that is not as well known as it relates to Durham or even Black Durham, right? We typically start Black Durham's discussion with the institution builders, just like I did, sharing about Mechanics at Farmers Bank and so on and so forth. But there were people who were already there who had come off of that slave labor camps. Harts, Holmans, Goodlows. I grew up with people who had that last name. Yep, many of them don't even know today that they have an association or a how do you say, Yes, thank you. Like
an ancestral connection.
Yeah, to that land, like it's being.
Well, let me ask you this then. So with the residents of that neighborhood in particular being squeezed out of their own community, many of them already having been pushed out or you would say coerced out or conned out, how is it possible to really create community and to try to embrace that process? And one, how is it even possible, and is it in their best interest? And then do you think that just a mural is something that is going to accomplish that, as opposed to one, preserving those people community, and actually preserving their culture and not just the story of their culture, as well as compensating them for the damage that's already been done?
Okay, so I don't see the contradiction perhaps that you do. One, I think the community has to decide what it wants. It's not for me to go in and tell the community. I think that's really, really important, right? So we have conversations to find out what the community wants to accomplish through that. And be really clear, in Bragtown, the Bragtown Community Association is leading the drive for what they want to happen in that community. As far as, what was the other part that you asked me about?
Well, we can actually stick with that because according to the presentation, it seems like within context, you asked the community what they wanted to see in regards to the mural, not did they want to preserve their whole community and get these other groups out.
Right. Okay. So that process in Durham. Okay. So now I get what you're saying now. I get what you're saying now. Okay. So in Durham, I get. It's interesting, man. I grew up there, and it means a lot to me because it was a community where African Americans who grew up there had a very independent spirit because they saw people go off to work every day in businesses that they own. And I don't want to overpaint that like they were some huge going concern, but it was theirs, whatever it was, right? So when you're a young person and you see that, and you see you got your own hospital and all that kind of thing, it develops a certain kind of attitude and mentality, right? But once they atomized the black community, they broke it up, quite literally, with policies that we did not have at the time, the wherewithal or the means really to effectively address. That left us in a position now where our economic base is broken. We're not as strong. We're not able to respond collectively the way that we need to, right? So we're now trying to, in a manner of speaking, heal the community from what it's been through, and then protect ourselves from any other, harms that might come as a consequence of the continued dislocation of people within our communities and so forth. But it's not just as simple as saying we can just push people out and so forth, because we can't determine where people live, right? We can't, since we don't have the power to do that.
Oh no, I don't think we could push anyone out of anywhere. I was saying, I don't know if that question or that was actually presented to the people in regards to, do you even want these outside groups outnumbering you, as well as, people can be pushed out because that's what's happening to Black Americans. So do you actually want this process to happen? Do you want it to keep taking place? Do you want to do something to stop this process? Which meaning, legislate with policy and stuff can be enacted to stop it.
So that we're clear, what's the process?
The process of stopping the gentrification that's happening in that community and preserving the actual.
So what I would say to that is so that process needed to stop. When you look at the newspapers in Durham, they started planning for transforming those communities in the 1930s. So when people come and ask me to talk, man, for me it's traumatizing, because I know what the community looked like. I know what it felt like, right? So you can build bricks all day. Bricks and mortar don't make a community, right? It's the people. And most of the people have already left. They're already gone or moving in at this point. They come and ask for a talk or whatever. I go, sometimes, and increasingly I've gotten to where I don't, because other people can go and do that. But they're saying like, well, what can we do now? I'm like, man, this is a conversation we should have had 50 years ago.
Got a buzz on.
All right, yeah, look back to remember. All right.
Brother Mark. Yep.
Okay. Okay, Chris. And Sonny. Okay, all right, nice to meet y'all. Keep up the good work. Yeah, so this is the way to contact you?
Yes, ma'am.
I'll give you my card.
Oh, of course.
Right there.
Yo, peace, family. This your boy Sonny G with the Florida Reparations Compliance Committee. I'm here with our brother Tony Frazier at the Asala Conference. Brother Tony Frazier, what does the Asala Conference mean to you?
One, it's a wonderful family gathering. Two, it's to remind us of our history or our her story or her truth. We gather together to study together, to share, fellowship together. And one of the beautiful things I love about this conference is everywhere we go, we try to find local people to celebrate, and we celebrate the people who've always been with us.
Most definitely. And here with our team, we are the Florida Reparations Compliance Committee. So my other question is for you, what does reparations look like for Black Americans to you?
Well, reparations should mean we restore it. It should come externally and internally. At the same time as we're working on our own rejuvenation, our own restoration, we are owed a great deal. We know we built this country, actually we built the world. And so whatever form we can work it out to bring it forth, it needs to be done. Because all we do today is definitely the foundation and growth for tomorrow.
That's a fact. That's a fact. And we know that the Jews got reparations, they get cash. The Native Americans, they got money, they got cash. The Japanese internment camps, they got cash. So how do you feel about us, Black Americans, getting direct cash payments as a form of our reparations?
We should receive cash. We should not pay taxes on anything. We should be giving our land back. In fact, many other people are actually giving land. They're still giving them land. They're still bringing people in and providing them with resources that they don't provide us with. We are owed a lot, and the truth of the matter is we must claim it for ourselves.
That's a fact. It's your boy Sonny G with the Florida Reparations Compliance Committee.
Can I give something else?
Yeah.
One of the ways we can begin to show the world that we're here and we're going to claim it is we must reclaim our health. And the very helpful information that you shared with me, I greatly appreciate our young warriors coming behind me, recognizing the value of caring for our health. And one of the things I ask my people to do, please stop vaping and please learn the effect of everything you put in your body.
That's a fact. Get you some fruits and some water. Here with the brother Tony Frazier, Florida Reparations Compliance Committee.
Good afternoon. This is Melinda. I'm with the Florida Reparations Compliance Committee, and we're interviewing
Jarvis Gibbons.
And can you tell us a little bit about your archive program, how it started, and give us a brief overview?
Yeah. So I'm a professor of education in African and African American studies at Harvard, and the Black Teacher Archive is a project where myself and two colleagues are working to locate, digitize, and preserve the records of what were formerly called colored teacher associations. These were professional organizations of Black teachers through the Jim Crow era, where they worked to support themselves as a professional group, but also to create a national agenda for Black education that were responsive to the communities that they were serving. And they were also very important institutions that supported the Black freedom struggle. So they were often working in the shadows of the civil rights movement, but providing very important funding and organizing support for the movement, and also teaching many of the leaders that would go on to kind of lead those efforts. So the Black Teacher Archive is an online portal. It's open access to make available the intellectual and political legacy of African American teachers through these documents that were called Colored Teacher Association journals, which were essentially the magazines or the journals of these Black teacher groups that they published either monthly or quarterly. In the content of these journals is a lot of important information about local Black history in the state of Florida. So, for instance, the records for the Florida State Teacher Association, an organization that James Weldon Johnson and Mary McLeod Bethune were both very active in, were presidents of, and when they were leading educators in the state. And you have similar organizations across various different states that were networked and that operated and organized together for supporting matters related to education, school funding, working to challenge the kind of anti-Black content in the context of schools, and to make a scholarship on Black life and culture available to students when it wasn't being provided by the school structures that they had to work within. And that's what the Black Teacher Archive is about. It's about elevating the history and the story of Black teachers to help inform the conversations that we're having today around similar issues and how we can build on that legacy to respond to the current moment.
What have been some of the more surprising discoveries you've found in your research?
Some of the surprising discoveries for me was just, from the beginning, learning about the expansive network of Black teachers. When I was taught about the civil rights movement, I was never really told stories about the importance of teachers in that process. I was interested to learn about, the role that Black teachers played in raising money to support the lawyers in the litigation campaigns to challenge Jim Crow and leading to the road of Brown v. Board of Education, but also the important intellectual work that they did, recognizing that we wouldn't have so many important leaders had it not been for the teachers in black schools that cultivated their imaginations and their dreams of a different world. So that for me was just a big, it forced me to reconceptualize how I thought about the history of black education. So many of the narratives talk about black education before Brown as they were separate, they were unequal, schools were falling apart. It was just a story of material lack. But what I actually encountered was that those things were true in certain instances, but that there was also a model of education that critiqued that reality, right? That critiqued the fact that gave students the resources, the language, and the ideas to say that these things are not the way that they should be, right? And that gave them the courage and cultivated the aspiration for them to dream and to push for a world that didn't exist yet. And I felt like pulling that story out to the forefront to help expand how we think about the history of black education was one thing that was, at least it was a discovery for me. But then after I realized it, it affirmed things that I felt like I did know, because I had experiences like that with black teachers myself. But to know that there was a much longer tradition of that was really important. But these very sophisticated institutional structures that black teachers created intentionally, that was a mind-blowing discovery for me, that teachers across the country were part of these groups and were organized in very intentional ways. Is something that we don't necessarily see as much today, but I think that we could really benefit from and can really learn from.
I'm curious, I'm a teacher myself, so I'm curious as to the professional development. Have you discovered any information about how the teachers at that time period maintain their professionality, their information, sharing best practices and things like that? Did you come across any enclaves like that?
Yeah, so these groups really serve the purpose of continued professional learning for teachers. We see people like Carter G. Woodson, Mary McLeod Bethune, and W.B. Du Bois coming and addressing black teachers directly. So essentially they created these institutional spaces where they could create the kind of professional development that they understood to be meaningful, even when they weren't receiving that kind of training in traditional teacher training programs. So in many ways, these organizations that black teachers created were these intellectual spaces where black teachers were not just operating as practitioners, but they were doing intellectual work, right? They were organizing themselves into study groups through these organizations to engage with literature and new scholarship by black historians and other thinkers that were not being made available in traditional curriculum. And so the institutions they created provided a public, this professional public for them to gather and to do that kind of organizing work and that intellectual work.
And they develop their own curriculum in terms of whether they use existing curriculum and just try to...
So it's a combination of things. Some of them were actively developing curriculum. There are a number of black teachers that were involved in that. Carter G. Woodson was a school teacher when he founded the Association for the Study of Negro Life and History, or the Association for the Study of African American Life and History, as we call it today. But he was a teacher at a public school. He was a high school teacher when he founded that organization. When he started the Journal of Negro Education, and there were teachers before him that wrote textbooks as early as 1841. There's a black teacher named James W.C. Pennington, who was an escaped slave. He was a teacher at the African Free School in Connecticut. He wrote a textbook in 1841 when he was an educator. There's other black educators like Lila Amos Pendleton, who was also a public school teacher in D.C., who published a textbook in 1912. Madeline Stratton Morris in Chicago in the 1930s created an entire Negro history curriculum that teachers could use in their classrooms if they wanted to, and she did that in partnership with the Association for the Study of Negro Life and History and with support from Carter G. Woodson. But many of them also may have used, even if they didn't create the curriculum on their own, they were able to use Negro history kits that this association put out and circulated around the country, or they were able to use textbooks by people like Carter G. Woodson that they could purchase through this organization to try and introduce their students to alternative curriculum, even if it wasn't provided by the local school boards that they had to operate within.
That's very good. Now, you mentioned you were from California?
Yes.
What part?
I'm from Compton, California.
Compton. I'm from Boston, South Central.
Oh, you from? Okay, got it.
South Central. Just curious about the California fines for Black professional teachers. Were you able to find some archives for that?
So, we haven't found many extensive archives for the teachers in California, but one of the things for me personally is that I attended a small all-black school in Compton, California from preschool through 8th grade. One of the things that I came to learn when I was doing this research is that I was so drawn to this research because a lot of the things that I was seeing resonated with my own experience. I had positive experiences in school. Black history and culture was deeply embedded into the curriculum. We sang Lift Every Voice and Sing every day before we started class from the time I was in preschool to 8th grade. But I realized that the teachers that ran the school that I attended in Compton were Southern migrants and were educated by the teachers that I told you about who were part of these professional organizations, who operated black schools during the Jim Crow era, and they migrated to California. And in this school that I attended, they were able to build on the best of the educational experiences that they had to create a thriving, black school community in Compton, a place that I don't think most people would be looking for black educational achievement, right? But for me, that was always the case. That black educational achievement was not an exception, but it was the norm at the school that I went to, and even the public high school that I attended in Watts. That was called King Drew Magnet High School. And majority black students, majority black teachers and administrators when I was there, had over 80% graduation rate as well. And many of the school leaders at that school were also Southern migrants and had roots in the kind of educational tradition that I'm writing about. So I guess what I'm saying is that the California connection is that certainly there has been moments of kind of strong, thriving black educational communities in California, but I also think that there's probably an interesting migration narrative that's a part of this story that I was talking about with these colored teacher associations as well, because many of the folks that come to California are traveling there from other places.
Absolutely. Just really quickly, and I'll wrap this up. Speak really quickly to the importance of having black educators and how that was important for you coming up.
Yeah, I think it's important for a number of reasons. I think developmentally, I think it's important for young students to see aspects of their own identities modeled and reflected in the people that are educating them. But I also think black teachers are important is because the experience of black teachers in the context of American education is always closely related to the experience of black students as well. Every black teacher was once a black student, right? Every black teacher once had to encounter the challenges when it comes to perceptions of, blackness in the world, had to navigate that, had to make sense of their own identities in relationship to it. So the kind of shared set of experiences, not saying that everyone has the exact same experiences, but we often find that teachers of color and black teachers in particular come to the work of being educators with more than just an interest in being a good educator when it comes to their subject area and expertise in that area, but it also has to do with a larger social mission that they're bringing to the work of being a teacher. And I think we also have just like a lot of data at this point that have demonstrated the importance of black students having black teachers early on and the impact that can have for their kind of matriculation through the K through 12 context, but also in terms of going on to college as well. So for talking about questions around achievement, I think that we have a lot of information that has demonstrated why black teachers are important, and especially when it comes to the kind of ethic of care that black teachers bring to working with black students. And we know that they're more likely to do things like to recommend black students to more highly rigorous courses than their white counterparts, right, who make up the majority of the teaching force. Other things when it comes to discipline, white teachers being more likely to read certain kind of behavioral things in black students as discipline worthy, and therefore the kind of more harsher punishment of students. Some of that is reduced when you have a more diverse kind of teaching force, and particularly more black teachers. Yeah.
Okay, just to wrap it up, let us know about your initiative and what you're having coming up on October 3rd, and where we can help and find and donate or volunteer, whatever we need to do.
Yeah, so the event on October 3rd is the launch event for the Black Teacher Archive. We're going to be talking about this online portal that will be available to anyone who goes to the website to research and study and learn more about the history of black teachers. That's on October 3rd. It's going to be in person at Harvard University at 4:30 p.m. that day, but it's also going to be live streamed. I can share that information with you if you want to share it with folks as well.
Go ahead and share.
Yeah.
Go ahead and share your website and your.
So I don't have the website, but or do we have the website?
The short code for the website is hgse.me/BTA.
Okay, so that is hgse.me/BTA. And HGSC is an acronym for the Harvard Graduate School of Education.
Okay, that's great. Thank you so much for your time, and appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
She shared this, I guess, over the folks in the chat that were sharing things. And but this is someone from lineage.
Peace, family. This your boy Sonny G with the Florida Reparations Compliance Committee down here in Jacksonville, where the massacre took place, where they took 3 black lives here at the Dollar General. And we are here live on the scene, live on site. This is exactly why we need an anti-black hate crime bill, specifically for this incident right here and the incidents that's been happening all across the country. So this is one of our 6 talking points. This is one of the things that we're pushing, an anti-black hate crime bill specifically for us, because we need federal protection. Peace, family. This your boy Sonny G with the Florida Reparations Compliance Committee. I'm here with our brother Broderick. Brother Broderick, what does the Charlotte Conference mean to you?
It's a great opportunity to meet people that I've always, admired their academic production. To meet other black people, other like-minded black people that know our history and what's necessary going forward.
Facts. And what does reparations for black Americans mean to you?
Reparations for us means a complete transformation of the socioeconomic order. It means putting the means of production in our hands of every industry, every institution that we built. It means giving us the ownership of it. It's not just paychecks, even though we deserve that too, but it's we own the universities that our ancestors built. We own the industries that we built, and we're able to determine what our children learn and what curriculum we have. We own the land. We own everything that our ancestors built, and then we get to determine how it's distributed.
Right. And Brother Broderick, you was telling us that you were a part and influential with building California reparations. I guess
I was part of the research team for the Reparations Task Force in California, where we had listening sessions throughout the state to figure out what black people wanted for reparations, and then we reported it to the state. So I'm out of California now. I'm up in Baltimore, but just still waiting to figure out how the state will move forward with that.
That's a fact. And have you been keeping up to date with San Francisco's reparations too?
No, I haven't, to be honest. No.
Okay. I think I like San Francisco's a lot better. It's $5 million right now. It's $5 million per descendant. I think it's dollar homes, tax free for Black American businesses and stuff like that. So I do like the package.
I mean, yeah, whatever works, whatever Black people agree on, that's what I think we should go with, regardless of what one person may think. It should be a decision decided by the majority of African Americans.
Facts. And this is your brother Sonny G, Florida Reparations Committee. What's good? It's your boy Sonny G with the Florida Reparations Compliance Committee, and I'm here with my brother Jaden. Brother Jaden, what does the Charlotte Conference mean to you?
Asala means it's a great gathering of scholars across so many different fields just coming together. This year's theme is Black Resistance, and that just means so much. I'm a history education student, and we know history education is going through a crisis right now, so it's so powerful to see so many people committed to the cause.
Facts. And with that being said, what does reparations for Black Americans look like to you?
Reparations means repairing the centuries and centuries of harm that has been continually perpetuated against our communities and trying to move forward.
Facts. And what about in the form of direct cash payments?
I think direct cash payments are necessary. They have a 400-year head start on us, and we built all of it. We need the retribution for our ancestors' labor.
Sonny G, FRCC signing out. Peace family, this your boy Sonny G with the Florida Reparations Compliance Committee. I'm here with our sister, Dr. Lisa Brown, here at the Charlotte Conference. Dr. Lisa Brown, what does the Charlotte Conference mean to you?
Oh, it means everything. I love Carter G. Woodson. I've always done this kind of programming before I became an academic, and I had no idea there was like a national organizations of scholars who are looking to preserve and highlight Black American history. So I thought that was really fantastic.
That's a fact. And what does reparations for Black Americans look like to you?
Reparations to me looks like direct cash payments to eligible recipients, and I also support the idea of having resources in place to help preserve our wealth and also position us to thrive and do well in the United States.
That's a fact. Sonny G, FRCC signing out. Peace family, this your boy Sonny G with the Florida Reparations Compliance Committee. I'm here with our sister Kendra. Sister Kendra, what does the Charlotte Conference mean to you?
This one, the Jacksonville conference?
Yeah.
So for me, it meant opportunity, and it almost feels like a family reunion. It was important to do it, to come to Florida when other people I know are boycotting. And I appreciated it because we are having a presence, showing that we have a presence, and that there was some protest activity that had to do with us persisting and telling the true story of African American history.
That's a fact. And what does reparations for Black Americans look like to you?
Like what would it look like if there were reparations? So I'm a historian, and I don't directly follow the reparations movement or study the reparations movement, but I study a lot of people who advocated for the reparations movement and some who are still advocating for the reparations movement. And so for me, reparations can come in the form of equitable access to education, equitable access to housing, equitable access to health care. And when I say equitable, I mean reparative and restorative, not necessarily equal one-to-one. They get something, we get something, but that we are restored and repaired for all the labor, whether work or bearing children, taking care of their children, all that stuff. I do support the reparations movement.
And do you support direct cash payments as well?
So you putting me on the spot with that question, because like I said, I haven't delved into all the possible options and the possible scenarios of possible options. So right now I don't have a position on that.
Okay, no problem. Thank you. That's Sonny G with the FRCC signing out. Yo, peace family, this your boy Sonny G with the Florida Reparations Compliance Committee, and we here in Jacksonville, Florida, right outside of Edward Waters campus with my brother Nate. Brother Nate, how do you feel about reparations for Black Americans?
I think it's a good thing based on like the history of black people in the United States, what we've endured, since slavery and even after slavery. I think just after slavery alone, we owe something for what we've been put through. But 400 years of free labor and the wealth that was built off of that labor, I think like the descendants of our ancestors in the United States, you know what I'm saying? I think we should be compensated for what they endured, what they went through. All that free labor made somebody else rich, so I think we should get something out of it as well.
That's a fact. And you believe in the direct cash payments, right?
I believe in direct cash payments, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. I mean, back then it was cash involved. Right. It was making cash for the cotton that we picked and the other crops that we picked and filled in the fields. So I think we should be paid in cash as well.
Facts. And me and my team, we just left the Dollar General down there. Okay. Now, we understand that all across the country, we see a sweep of violence with white supremacists all across the country. So how do you feel about black Americans getting an anti-black hate crime bill specifically for us?
I think that's another thing. I mean, we have the Asians got a hate crime bill. Yeah, and I mean, gays got all kind of protection. And not saying those groups don't need it, but we need it as well. It's just as important for us. I mean, and it's evident every day in society, man. All kind of shootings, you know what I'm saying, or hate crimes geared towards us just for being black. Yeah. So I think we need some kind of protection in place for us as well.
That's a fact. This your boy Sonny G, my brother Nate, Frcc.
From the Florida Reparations Compliance Committee. We're at a sad location right now, Jacksonville, Florida, where a white supremacist came and took 3 of our precious souls and our precious lives. I'm not gonna hold you. We need a black hate crime bill. It's enough is enough. He had to come all the way and find this place to massacre our beautiful citizens here. I'm not gonna even hold you. Jacksonville needs its reparations. The community here needs their money. It's set in the past. We need our money, we need our reparations, we need protections, we need a black, anti-black hate crime bill. Thank you.
Kings and queens that we lost.
them.
Right.
Because they were somebody since niggas was nobody.
Correct.
That's the way they work that shit.
Yeah, this plantation just got me. My ancestors, I feel them, you know. It's got me so heated, man. Then they act like we don't deserve reparations, man. We the only ones never got reparations.
The way they work that is they show the happy donkey.
Right.
You know, them niggas couldn't possibly be. It wasn't all that bad.
Right.
You know. If it wasn't so bad, what were you doing?
Right. But knowing we need, the reparations, we built this whole America, man.
Yeah.
But no tangible, no vote, man. We ain't voting for nothing. And getting behind nothing, man. That's what people should feel it, man. Our ancestors put in too much work to understand, to go through this, and then all of a sudden they say, hey, man, you hear people saying that, well, that's not me, that's not us. That was our people of the past. Nah, man. You're descendants. We are descendants.
The same thing they did with the Reconstruction Amendments.
Right.
14 or one of them. That was something I was reading. More white people used it than black. One of them. Oh, about corporations being people. That's the root of this whole right-wing thing of corporations need to be able to pick candidates and everything.
Right. How far your lineage go back?
Well, I don't really know. I know that my last name came to England in 1066, but I don't know anything about it. I mean, I know my grandfather was born in Huntsville, Alabama.
Okay.
But I'm not sure. Some of the words that my mother knew from him kind of gave me a hint as to where it probably came from. Buckler was what was the term they used for whites, and I forget now, but I had learned that was black slang from some particular African tribe and stuff. I haven't done
Have you done like your lineage and things?
the DNA thing.
Yeah, I don't do the spit kit. I just do trace my lineage as far as like ancestral. Then I'm talking about like .org, and it's like we kept good records, and then people kept good records. It was good records because I know my great grandmother, I have an uncle right now in Mississippi that's 102, about to be 103 in February. Right. Still working his garden. He still drive. I got videos of him throwing. He won't even want me to help him in the garage. He's like, get out of my way.
So you one generation from slavery too?
Yeah, he was born in 1921.
I mean, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Slavery, him.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
So it's just one between. Much I mean one between.
Yeah.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah, he was born in 1921. His mom, we take him back to the 1800s.
Yeah, my mother's father was born in probably 18. Since he was born a slave, he never really knew exactly his exact birth.
Yeah, history.
But actually, she thought he told her 1840s, but I think it was the 1850s.
Yes.
He actually wound up having a high school named after him in Jacksonville, Mississippi.
Wow, that's what we got for family at, yeah.
Yeah. And his grave says born 1850 something. My mother told me she thought he was 85 when he died in 1929. That's where I got the 1840s from. I counted backwards.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's what his mom. That's why his mom was born in the 1800s. So he was his mom.
Born before 1865, she was born in slavery.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it definitely is. And see, that's what we're right now when we doing. I'm with the FRCC. We do a lot of This is in Florida. Right, it's a Florida Reparations Clients Community. So we're just really waking up, and a lot of people don't know about our history. Don't know about our the lineage. Don't know about
you know the wordplay. They know his story.
Yeah, his story. Yeah, and that's who that was. Was that McGraw Hill? Them school books, the school books in McGraw Hill is what they indoctrinated us with. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I mean, but also like what Texas does. If who's gonna buy the books wants this to be the history,
right?
Lo and behold, we'll give you a book with that in it.
Right.
It feeds back on itself though. It's all the blame.
Right.
It explains the sequence of events, but it's all the blame.
Right.
I'd like to say that.
Yeah, for sure. It's crazy. I mean, some people come here, they look at they ancestors, what they did.
We don't want to think about that.
No, they're that's what they come for. They shine in the moment on that type of thing.
They think of how well
Yeah.
they lived.
Like that, and we got slaves, and we did this, and we're that, we dominant, that kind of weird stuff, man, and it was really just aggravating, because, like, people don't want to take blame of the descendants, like, you know what I'm saying, like, if you are a descendant.
There's a thing, I taught sociology, anthropology, in grad school, when the stuff that led to black studies started across the bay at San Francisco State, but one of the things, I forget, my office mate was researching on black psychologists, and these brothers put out something that's never been in a major book. But I was working at Institute of Black World, and they came through, and I said, I got this book that is laying out the underlying understanding,
Right.
worldview.
So what's the question? Where do you think the life starts at? Where do you think that we originated from? Where do you think all life?
Africa.
That's where you think is Africa?
Is water wet?
No, I'm just saying. Do you don't think there's no other possibility that we could have been here already in the U.S. on the soil?
Oh, that was definitely. I mean, yeah, Columbus talked about all the brown people he saw in the Caribbean.
Yeah.
I don't have no doubt about that. But some of that ADOS, American descendants of slavery, they want to claim that. That's right. They claim that all concerns for reparations should just be limited to the United States.
Right.
And I think like half a billion black people on this side of the Atlantic. Why would you cut yourself off as 460 million black people outside the United States, 40 million in the United States. So why would you not hook up with them other 460 million?
Because this is what I come up with too, is that if we are from this soil, like I did my lineage, I haven't found an African or anything, and I'm dating back to the early 1600s, at the end of 1600s. So I know time exists way before that, but I haven't found any Africans in my lineage. But a lot of people have done, as far as my grandmother said about Indians, that we're American Indians. We're from Choctaw.
Yeah,
from
my
mother's
grandmother was at least half Indian. Yeah.
Okay, she was half. Okay. Yeah, but mixed in with the indigenous people here, and the Africans that came over on the slave ships that they brought them over on the slave ships, mixed in and did amalgamation. We just did a lot of lineage work, and that's just like, and I do encourage people to do their lineage, because like you can tie back your mother. It's gonna show records. Somebody's gonna put out the records, or your family members, or somebody that's looking just like you and ties to you some way, and they actually putting the pieces to the puzzle together. And all you got to do is just reach out to a system that's already in place for you to be able to say, oh, I didn't know that was my auntie. I didn't know that was my dad's grandmother. You know what I mean? Like stuff like that. So we connect the dots through paperwork. Death records on the. You had on the Freeman. You had as far as the. I got Freeman paperwork. I got Negro paperwork. For us. Things of that nature. So just tracing our lineage back, you will find out. That we originally from this soil. Where else?
The other thing is that on the one hand, like strategically, I wouldn't. The only reason I wouldn't focus on being original here is that becomes the bone of contention rather than the human rights issue.
Right.
You know what I mean? So if you start saying something, if they find out, if they see something somebody claiming is a hole in entry for them, they're gonna be all over it. You know.
Right.
So I strategically, I don't even go there. I go right to. I'll try to go straight to the heart of the matter.
But see, that's why we take all of it out. That's why it's lineage based. That's why we don't. We really did, because everybody can't attach themselves to it.
I understand,
okay.
Bro. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
But see, what that is that's making the case that we was already here. And then that turns into the argument, not the mistreatment or anything else.
No, but it's still China slave. We still going through the Jim Crows and the China slave. We still got to shut up. We still stay in that part because we was a direct hit from that. You know what I mean? From each one of them atrocities that faced us all throughout being here.
Oh yeah, no. Okay. No, that's definitely Booker T wrote Up From Slavery. And he wrote two versions. One to be sold to white people and another to be sold to black people. One lesson, the other lesson. So, you know, I mean, because it's a multi-front battle. You know, it's not just a two-front battle. It's 360 degrees. Yeah, that's what I mean. Strategically, that's what I'm thinking about. Not so much, because facts is facts, whether you agree with them or not. You know what I'm saying? But strategically, to get this shit cleaned up is the kind of thing I be trying to think about.
Because just tangibles, but we actually looking for cash payments. We looking for land back. You know,
material make up for the material losses for 400 years.
Yeah, or more.
Yeah, I mean, well, since they started,
they started.
I
mean, she's a 13-year-old girl.
That's when they started taking shit away.
Yeah, that's when it started. And it started way before that. But in
403 years ago.
Yeah, in all our inventions, though, you know what I mean? We have thousands and thousands, a lot of stuff that took away from us, inventions, too.
Why not take somebody's ideas and make it?
They've been doing it.
Yeah,
They have been doing it. That's what I'm saying. We got to wake it up because it's very, very important. That's why we out here. We were actually speaking out. You know, we was passing out flyers. We galvanize. We go to neighborhoods. We go everywhere and really and wake the people up. We call it activate. You know, we have to activate our people into actually knowing something, man. Like, you know, to know what they've been through. You know, the atrocities.
Back in the day, it was called agitation.
Right.
Sociology and there's a subfield called collective behavior, and you know, riots, fads, rumors, all of that different kind of things. But there are social. There's things that people interacting with each other that lead to this pattern of behavior spreading out.
Right.
Yeah. But agitation is people get comfortable with acting a certain kind of way. So just like a washing machine moves everything around and gets the soap and dirt together so they can take it out the clothes.
So let's do a reversal role here. If we had look at this turtle.
Yes, sir.
If we had enslaved, just say we have enslaved Caucasians, and we had them in like a plantation area right here, what would be our meaning for us to come and just come and reveal, just see the plantation that the harms were done to Caucasians. Yeah, but what I'm saying, what would you do? Like, why would I want to come back through here just to see what my people? I mean, is it like a smack in the face? Is it some kind of like, do people really just? I don't know if they do. They get excited about it, the type of thing. What you think?
I'm serious. That's all I'm saying. That thing about that underlying psychology that I'm over here and the rest of that's over there.
Right.
So I ain't got nothing to do with it.
Okay.
I mean, it's just like, you know, I mean, you could hook somebody up to a lie detector.
Right.
And shoot them up with truth serum and have them steps around a stack of Bibles this high.
Right.
If they believe it, they believe it.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So that's what I mean. It'll be a whole nother process. But I've been watching that too. I think that's really
Hello family, you already know we're at ground zero for our black Americans, man. Like you say, man, the hate bill, we got to definitely be on point. We got to keep our head on the swivel, you know, because you got these
These racists going on, it's pure hatred, man. We know that this is pure hatred, man, and that's what we up against, man. They target us. They think we soft targets. No, we're not soft targets, man, but they kind of